We've all been there. That awkward silence after a bad joke, the uncomfortable pause when someone brings up a sensitive topic. In these moments, a common response kicks in. Awkward niceness. We plaster on a smile, agree a little too enthusiastically, and avoid any phrase that might be perceived as confrontational. We choose politeness over authenticity, hoping to smooth over the discomfort. But here's the catch: awkward niceness is a mask. It hides our true feelings and prevents genuine connection. We become experts at surface-level interactions, but struggle to build meaningful relationships. This social dance of avoiding discomfort can leave us feeling unheard, unseen, and ultimately lonelier. Awkward niceness thrives in the space between our authentic selves and the personas we believe are more acceptable. It's a defense mechanism, a way to protect ourselves from potential judgment or conflict. But this self-protection comes at a cost. By avoiding authenticity, we miss opportunities for real connection. We deny ourselves the chance to be truly known and understood. Breaking free from this cycle requires courage, the courage to be vulnerable, to embrace discomfort, and to show up as our true selves even when it's scary. Our minds and bodies are intricately connected. This mind-body link becomes particularly evident in awkward social situations. Internally, anxiety takes hold. Our thoughts race, our palms sweat, and we might feel a knot in our stomach. This internal chaos stems from our brain's natural response to perceived threats. Social situations, especially those laced with awkwardness, can trigger our fight-or-flight response. Our brain, wired for survival, interprets the discomfort as danger, urging us to either escape the situation or appease the potential threat. In response to this internal alarm, we often choose appeasement. We default to awkward niceness, using excessive politeness, nervous laughter, and agreement as a way to disarm the perceived threat. We prioritize keeping the peace externally, even if it means silencing our own needs and feelings. This disconnect between our internal experience and our outward behavior creates a dissonance that can be emotionally draining. It's like holding our breath, waiting for the uncomfortable moment to pass. But true connection requires us to exhale, to release the tension of forced pleasantries and embrace the vulnerability of authenticity. Our bodies are constantly communicating, sending subtle signals that reflect our internal state. In awkward situations, these physiological whispers become amplified. Our heart rate might increase, our palms get clammy, and we might experience a shortness of breath. Our body is telling us that we're feeling uncomfortable, even if we're trying to mask it with a smile. These physical sensations are part of our body's natural stress response. When we encounter a perceived threat, our sympathetic nervous system kicks in, releasing adrenaline and cortisol. These hormones prepare us to either fight or flee the situation. However, in social situations, these primal responses aren't always helpful. We can't always run away from awkwardness, and confronting the source of our discomfort isn't always appropriate or productive. So we're left to manage these physiological symptoms while trying to navigate the social interaction. This can be incredibly difficult, especially if we're not aware of what our bodies are trying to tell us. Learning to recognize and understand our body's signals is crucial for managing awkward niceness. By paying attention to our physical sensations, we can start to identify the triggers that activate our stress response. This awareness allows us to respond to awkwardness with more intention, choosing authenticity over automatic politeness. The dynamics of shared living spaces, like college dorms or apartments, often become breeding grounds for awkward niceness. Imagine this: your roommate constantly leaves dirty dishes in the sink, but you bite your tongue. You plaster on a smile and say, "No worries, I'll get it," even though resentment simmers beneath the surface. Why do we do this? Because directly addressing the issue feels confrontational. We fear damaging the relationship or creating an uncomfortable living environment. So we choose awkward niceness as a coping mechanism, prioritizing temporary peace over long-term resolution. However, this pattern of avoiding conflict can lead to a buildup of resentment and frustration. The unaddressed issues fester, creating an undercurrent of tension that impacts the entire living situation. The very harmony we sought to preserve through niceness crumbles under the weight of unspoken grievances. The key to breaking free from this cycle is open and honest communication. It's about finding the courage to express our needs and boundaries respectfully. This doesn't mean engaging in an aggressive confrontation. It's about having a calm, direct conversation, focusing on finding a solution that works for both parties. Section 5. Performance reviews. When professionalism meets discomfort. The workplace, with its emphasis on professionalism and performance, can be a minefield of awkwardness. Performance reviews, in particular, often trigger anxious niceness. Imagine this. Your supervisor points out areas for improvement, some of which you find unfair or unjustified. Internally, you might feel a surge of defensiveness or frustration. However, you might respond with, "You're absolutely right. I'll work on that, even if you don't fully agree." We do this because we want to appear receptive to feedback, even if it stings. We fear that disagreeing or expressing our perspective might be perceived as unprofessional or disrespectful. This tendency to prioritize politeness over honesty can hinder professional growth. When we shy away from expressing our perspectives, we miss opportunities for constructive dialogue. We limit our ability to advocate for ourselves and potentially stifle our career progression. Navigating these situations effectively requires finding a balance between professionalism and authenticity. It's about acknowledging the feedback received while also feeling empowered to express our thoughts and perspectives respectfully. This might involve asking clarifying questions, seeking concrete examples, or even voicing disagreement in a calm and constructive manner. Section 6. The price of peacekeeping, anxious niceness and relationship strain. While often intended to preserve harmony, awkward niceness can ironically strain relationships. When we constantly prioritize the comfort of others over our own needs, we create an imbalance. We become pleasers, silencing our own voices to avoid potential conflict. Imagine this. Your partner consistently interrupts you during conversations. Instead of addressing the issue, you laugh it off and say, "Oh, that's just how they are." You prioritize keeping the peace over expressing your need to be heard. Over time, this pattern of suppressing our needs can breed resentment and frustration. The unheard part of ourselves yearns for acknowledgement, while the accommodating part perpetuates a dynamic where our needs are consistently overlooked. Genuine connection thrives on authenticity and vulnerability. This involves expressing our needs, setting boundaries, and engaging in difficult conversations when necessary. It's about creating a space where both parties feel safe to show up as their true selves, even when it's messy or uncomfortable. Section 7. Decoding discomfort, identifying anxious niceness in ourselves and others. Recognizing awkward niceness, both in ourselves and others, is the first step towards addressing it. It involves paying attention to subtle cues and behaviors that often mask deeper feelings of discomfort. In ourselves, this might look like agreeing with someone even when we hold a different opinion, laughing off hurtful comments, or avoiding difficult conversations altogether. We might experience physical symptoms like a racing heart, sweaty palms, or a pit in our stomach, signaling internal unease. In others, awkward niceness might manifest as excessive flattery, avoiding eye contact, or agreeing with everything we say, even if it contradicts their previous statements. Their body language might betray their words, revealing a disconnect between their outward pleasantries and their internal state. By learning to recognize the subtle signs of awkward niceness, we can become more attuned to our own emotional responses and those of others. This awareness allows us to approach these interactions with more empathy and understanding. We can move beyond the surface level of forced pleasantries and create space for more authentic connections. Section 8. Reframing awkward, shifting our perspective on uncomfortable interactions. Awkwardness, like any other emotion, is a natural part of the human experience. It's often a byproduct of vulnerability, of stepping outside our comfort zones and engaging in the messy, unpredictable world of human interaction. Instead of viewing awkwardness as something to be feared or avoided, what if we embraced it as an opportunity for growth? What if we saw it as a signpost, indicating areas where we can challenge ourselves to show up more authentically? This reframing requires a shift in perspective. It's about recognizing that discomfort is not the enemy. It's a catalyst for change. It's in those moments of awkwardness that we have the chance to break free from social scripts, to shed our masks, and to connect with others on a deeper, more meaningful level. When we approach awkwardness with curiosity rather than judgment, we open ourselves up to new possibilities. We create space for vulnerability, for authenticity, and for the kind of genuine connection that thrives on shared human experience. Section 9. The power of authenticity, embracing vulnerability in social settings. Authenticity, in its essence, is about showing up as our true selves, even when it's scary. It's about embracing vulnerability, imperfections, and all. In social settings, authenticity can feel risky. It requires us to let go of the need to control how others perceive us and to trust that our true selves are worthy of connection. This doesn't mean oversharing or bulldozing social boundaries. It's about finding the courage to express our thoughts and feelings honestly and respectfully, even when it feels uncomfortable. It's about choosing vulnerability over the safety of a social mask. The rewards of authenticity far outweigh the risks. When we show up authentically, we invite others to do the same. We create a space for genuine connection, where masks are lowered and hearts are open. Authenticity breeds trust, intimacy, and the kind of deep, meaningful relationships that enrich our lives. Section 10. Building confidence through courageous communication. Courageous communication is the antidote to awkward niceness. It's about expressing our needs, setting boundaries, and engaging in difficult conversations with honesty and respect. It's about speaking our truth, even when our voice shakes. This doesn't mean being aggressive or confrontational. It's about finding our voice, even in the quietest whispers. It's about advocating for ourselves while also being mindful of the needs and feelings of others. Building courageous communication skills takes practice. Start small. Challenge yourself to express your opinion, even if it differs from the group. Set a boundary with a friend or family member, even if it feels a little uncomfortable. Each act of courageous communication, no matter how small, strengthens our authenticity muscle. It builds our confidence and empowers us to show up more fully in all areas of our lives. Remember, courageous communication is not about perfection, it's about progress. Section 11. Navigating awkward niceness, a journey towards authenticity. Navigating awkward niceness is a journey, not a destination. It's an ongoing process of self-discovery, of learning to identify our triggers, challenge our default responses, and show up more authentically in our interactions. It's about recognizing that discomfort is not a sign of weakness, but an opportunity for growth. It's about embracing vulnerability as a pathway to deeper connection. And it's about remembering that we're all in this together, navigating the messy, beautiful complexities of human interaction. As we move through the world, let's extend ourselves and others a little grace. We're all works in progress, learning to navigate the space between politeness and authenticity. Let's create space for vulnerability, for courageous communication, and for the kind of genuine connection that makes life richer and more meaningful.